Jesus Christ, I took like an hour to set up. But we're going to try to do quick fire today with a lot of stats and a lot of percentages. And hopefully this makes a little bit more sense to you. Because clearly we're hearing the good old trope of, well, young people are just lazy. That's why so many people are on SNAP benefits. Oh, just, it's all young men. Young men need to get back to work and all this shit. Um, Turns out when you look at the numbers, it's not as bad as you really think. So, did a lot of number crunching. Started off with, the total population of the US, 340 million people. About total individuals on SNAP, 42 million individuals. Now, I have jobs available here. We can look at it a little bit more in depth a different time. But in terms of unemployment, the amount of people that are unemployed, 7.7 million when you're not considering seasonal jobs. Or, well, the status of seasonal jobs. You're just considering, you're considering seasonal jobs, but in terms of the numbers, but not assuming that these people are going to be going back. So about 0.5 million, half a million people typically are assumed to be working seasonal jobs. So when we look at the number that's typically given these days, we're taking the seasonally adjusted workers out, assuming that they're going to go back to that job next year. So we got a number of 7.4 million people. Now, you might be wondering, well, if there's 42 million individuals on SNAP and only 7.4 million people that are unemployed, so clearly all unemployed people, you can consider them maybe that they need SNAP, they need some way to pay for food, they're not working, they're not getting income. But you can't just say, for one, all people that rely on food stamps are unemployed. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's about, so we look at the numbers, I think it was either about 1/7 or 1/8. Yep. So 17.6% of SNAP recipients are unemployed, assuming that all unemployed are using SNAP or participating with SNAP. That's not a lot. That means that, well, the inverse, because you minus out of 100, and you can find out that, what is that, 82.4%? 82.4% of SNAP recipients are employed. Thank you. Autocorrect for the win. As I continue, thank you. Yeah. So it's very interesting when you look at that number, and then when you go and dive deeper into who's actually unemployed, because the statements that I'm hearing, and this has been going on for decades, that young men are lazy and they need the work, right? So one other statistic, just to even bring this back up, the only amount of available jobs, and mind you, this might not even be adjusted for ghost jobs, jobs that don't really exist, since, as reported as August 2025, is 5,308,000. The total amount of unemployed individuals is 7.4 million. There's not even enough jobs, even if these people were qualified to do these jobs. And that's a part of the reason why there's a big mismatch here in the millions, is because a lot of these people might not be qualified for these specific jobs, or these jobs might not even exist in the first place, but for whatever reason, they might be counted. I don't know the exact behind the scenes when it comes to that amount, but regardless, even if it's adjusted, that's still about 2 million people are going to be unemployed no matter what. 2 million of 7.4 million, that's 246, that's about like 28% maybe of those people that are unemployed just will not be able to work ever. It doesn't matter. So keep that in mind when we're also looking at these numbers, because it's ridiculous how small that we can get to when we even considered the amount of the population that are unemployed receiving SNAP is 2.2%. 2.2% of the entire US population are unemployed receiving SNAP. That's it. And this isn't even counting disabilities, which we can look at. Not even just gender, but we can account for disability as well. We have here a lot more maths. So go over unemployment by age group without, which is going to be the bigger number, or with disability. So we can take these numbers, I already did the percentages here, and let's see, we can look at young adults in particular, the amount that are actually able-bodied and working. We got about 29.4% of those young adults, so under the age of 24, so 16, and actually we can go even further, because who's 16 to 19 years old receiving SNAP? We can actually take this portion of the population out, because you can probably fairly assume that they're living at home with their families, and their families may or may not be receiving SNAP, but they technically can't receive SNAP benefits unless they're, foster kids. But even if they're foster kids, it's only a year. So that number, there's no way to really look at that number. So I can't even take the total amount of young adults. In fact, I have to look at from 20 to 24. So the 18.1%, which is the able-bodied, the 1,336,815 individuals that are unemployed. And we're assuming that they're receiving SNAP benefits. They might not even be receiving SNAP benefits. A lot of them could still be waiting. Actually, there was an instance I had to deal with personally where I had to wait for months to receive any benefits because the system is so screwed up because of the layoffs. And that's a whole other, I already made a video about that. Go check that out. My link is down below. But anyways, right here we have 18.1% weighed against the total seasonally adjusted, right? Total unemployed seasonally adjusted. That's what the weight is going against. So we can take that against the weight of the population that, we can assume are unemployed receiving SNAP. And I can even bring this number further if I take out that young age group. If I take out 913, well, almost 1 million people, literally. So we can do that too. We can take out what? So 7.4 minus, 0.913 or however we want to do it. We can do that separate actually right here, because I think that would be a more accurate representation of the data. So adjusted out very young adults 16 to 19, because I can't reliably use that statistic. I have it here. That's the 2.2% of the population, assuming that even 16-year-olds are getting SNAP benefits, which they are not. That is not how it's 18 or up. Or, well, if you're homeless. If you, it's by household too. If your parents are still claiming you, you can't really receive SNAP. So we can even go further. And oh my god, there's 3 different ways we can analyze this. Because if they're living at home up to 24 years old and they're still getting claimed by their parents, under the household and the, how taxes work and how SNAP works, depending on how you file, is this kind of making sense that maybe actually young adults aren't even getting SNAP in the first place? Maybe they aren't even a part of the numbers that we are considering here, which is why I broke all this down. So we can work on this a little bit further in depth in a different video, but just at least show you guys, even including people that might be living at home with their parents that are still getting claimed under their parents and therefore aren't really families participating in SNAP, when we just look at the unemployed population, then we have 2% of the population unemployed that are, it's, I don't know. So let's see, where to go. Let's do that, thinking of 20 to 24. Let's say that they're not living at home with their parents, and we're looking at that percent. So we got 0.18, where was it? 0.181. I think I have to do, no, it did do that correctly before. I think it's just bugging out on me. 0.181. Oh, well, I might actually have to use a calculator. It was doing the calculations earlier, but I guess it does not want to now while I'm on stream. Sick. Let's use a calculator real quick. Numbers, Mason. What do they mean? They mean way too goddamn much. 22 times 0 or 0.181. Wow, this is fucking small. This is tiny. Jesus. 4, which is equal to 0.4% of the population. And this is including young adults. Possibly not eligible for SNAP. If living with parents, which, I mean, that's typically, unless you're, well, I mean, if you're an immigrant, that's a whole different freaking story to begin with. Because unless you're a citizen and you have a social security or you're in the legal immigration process, you're also not receiving SNAP. So I can't even say that either, because that's just how it works. So that's a big consideration. It's only 0.4% of the total population, and that's including young adults possibly not eligible for SNAP. Well, that is the percentage that we're looking at. That is of young adults. I shouldn't even say including. And that's a big stipulation. And that doesn't seem like a lot of young men are being lazy and at home if it's only 0.4% of the population. Which, I mean, and that's if they're even receiving SNAP, right? So the other numbers that we can look at, I mean, if you want to consider someone between the ages of 24 to 55 that's not disabled, mind you, this is able-bodied. Disabilities is, I mean, especially even able-bodied. That's another stipulation that I got to put down because that was the percentage that we were looking at. It's able-bodied young adults possibly not eligible for SNAP. I mean, that's, yeah. And we haven't even looked at the gender yet. It's like a gender reveal. I'll just do this. Sure. Compared to total pop. So that's very interesting to look at. Now we got that percentage, and this is able-bodied. Oh, man. So let's see. We have... So 47.3% from 24 to 55, right? And this is going to be receiving SNAP, and this is the most likely to be receiving SNAP benefits, is what we could consider regarding the total population. So as this number was the 0.4 million compared to the 340 million. Okay. So taking that, 0.022 times, what was it? 0.4, what was it? 48, 47.3. So 473 equals, and it's still not doing it. Sick. So let me type it out on my damn phone. 473. 1%. So that's from 24 to 55. And that's, I mean, well, not percent. 1% of the population. Now, fun little fact too. This year we got about 1 million people laid off so far. So we'll consider layoffs 2025 about 1 million. So 1% of the population, I mean, what is that? 34 million? Let's actually wait. Because we're looking at 7.4 million individuals and a percentage of that. Because last year was about it's almost been about 1 million unemployed added. It kind of, a little bit less. So when we look at what I have here, that's jobs claims, that's profits. Yeah, apparently 52.9 trillion revenue for top 2,000 companies this year already. Woo! Job openings. Yeah, we already looked at job openings. This is only 5.4 mil. Let's see. This was the layoffs. Total job cuts. Yep, over 946,000. So about 1 million by September 2025. Highest since 2020, since COVID. And a majority of it, about a third of it, is federal workforce. So whether or not those individuals are already, one, receiving SNAP, I mean, and two, you can consider them the unemployed, the additional unemployed. Mind you, sometimes it doesn't take a few days to find a new job. Sometimes it takes a few weeks or a few months, depending on your experience and what's available. This is why, again, we're seeing only 5 million openings compared to 7.4 million unemployed. So, with the layoffs just being like over 1 million, and then the amount of people that probably got laid off, mind you, people from age 24 to 55, because by 55 you're retiring. And if you're relying on food stamps, that's only because you're relying on Social Security as well. And which that's going to change soon, especially when they move the age up to 65 for eligibility, and that you have to work. You have to have a work requirement, which I think that actually went in effect recently. So if 1% of able-bodied unemployed individuals, let me go actually look at the number. So by age group, that's male versus female. This is, so this is the number. So 3 million, 3.5 million. So roughly about a third of this number is, I mean, this is since August 2025. The third of this number is likely due to the layoffs simply from this year, going throughout this year, which is crazy. Because, I mean, that would be the group most affected by the layoffs. Maybe 20 to 24 if you're interns as well. And I guess we can add the 2 million to the 5. So it's about, what? Well, yeah, it's about 5.6 million people compared to the 1 million layoffs. So then that's about a fifth on average. That's still pretty bad within 1 year. Mind you, before this was about 6 million unemployed, and it's always a revolving door. The number's always fluctuating, so it's hard to tell who's been unemployed for a very long period of time, but there's also statistics like that as well, and you can look through it. But regarding the percentage that makes up young adults, I mean, you got 1%, and then we got 1.4% total, everyone under the age of 55, compared to the total population. That's not working, that's young adults, that's able-bodied. And compare that to the amount of SNAP recipients, again, it's minuscule. It's not a good reason to say, well, these individuals shouldn't be on SNAP. Like literally because of 1.4% of the total population, you're saying that 12.5% of the population doesn't deserve to have food assistance. And I think that's the point that needs to be made. I think that's the truth that's been lost in the minutia of all these details. I mean, and we see it right here. If you want to go by the numbers, go by the books. And it's sad to see that politicians these days are still trying to say that, well, it's because of lazy young men. This is, mind you, just adults. This isn't even men. The men only take up a portion of half, 52.7%. Where's the freaking thing? Here it is. By gender, when we look at unemployment, it's 3.9 million men versus 3.5 million women, 52.7%. And this is regardless of age, right? So I even did that. I even went by, so able-bodied, so without a disability, by gender, okay? Male versus female. And we have numbers here. Young adults in total, from 16 to 24, it's only about 1 million. That's young adults. Again, that's the same amount of layoffs that happened this year. Within this year. It's almost a 1-to-1 freaking ratio. It's about 200,000 off, 240,000 off. So, yeah, the numbers aren't really looking good, Chief. They're not. Because it's literally about half, and we can take, you could just take half of the percentage, 0.5. It's just 0.5 or 0.52 of a percent of the population. Or, 55 or younger, and then when you compare to adjusted out young adults, strictly men, and this is not considering SNAP beneficiaries, I believe. Was that the number that I used? Yeah, 1.81. Let me just triple check. That's actually, you can get about the same number when we look at 24 to 55. It's very close. Oh yeah, no, it was the percentage. Yeah, we were looking at strictly 20 to 24. So that's if they're living on their own. And then strictly men, this, like I said, it's half of that. Because this is young adults. This is men and women. So it doesn't look like it maths out very, very well for the people with these talking points. Times, 0.527. That equals, I gotta do numbers again. 0.004 times 0.527. That is 0.2%. It's 0.2%, and even if you can't even round up because it's like 0.21%. That's compared to the total population. It's not even 1%. It's strictly men of young adults, adjusted out very young adults from 16 to 19. Let's just do this. Just do a bracket. There we go. Yeah, that looks a little bit more cohesive. So out of the total population when it comes to SNAP recipients, that's about 1/8 of the population. The total number adjusted by unemployed, that's 2.2% of the population. And then we look further into the numbers regarding unemployed. And then by category, we have adjusted for young adults. Oh, I am screwing this up. Okay. So this is young adults age 20 to 24, assuming that they're living on their own. So this could even be smaller than that. This could even be smaller than 0.2%. Because if they're living at home and their parents are claiming them because they can be claimed until the age of 26, 25 or 26, Therefore, they're not eligible for SNAP because SNAP's going to look at your IRS tax returns from the previous years, and they're going to see, well, you're being claimed by your parents, because that's how it works. So no, young men are not lazy. They don't make up most of the unemployed. It just doesn't make sense no matter how you try to spin it. It's less than it's less than a fraction of the percent of a population. It's minuscule. It is utterly ridiculous. It's only, if anything, about 1 million, almost 2 million people. Or not, well, not men. If we look by gender, it's 1 million. It's about 1 million of young adults. And this is all over the entire United States. And you know how many layoffs happened this year? 1 million. It kind of makes sense. And this is, again, young adults. If you look at young men, it's half of this. Oh, no, never mind. Never mind. I was wrong. This is already half of the 2 million of total adults. And why are they not able to find a job right now? I mean, they're in competition with another 6 million individuals trying to fight over, if this even exists, 5.3 million jobs. If this number is even accurate. And it's probably worse because this is data from August. We're already 2 months away from there. So it could even be worse than this. So yeah, that's the analysis for today, and thanks for watching if you did. Hopefully this puts into perspective at least everything else. I'll just do a slow little scroll by so you can look at this yourself. And pause when you would like. And if there's any different things that you want to analyze, any other numbers that you want looked at, because we already adjusted for disability, we're accounting for that, and that's if disabilities even disperse equally among the age ranges. That's the only other stipulation that can be considered, but even then still, we're only taking out a very small percentage of the number when it comes to disabilities. It's literally, like, it's so tiny. It's 1.6%. When it comes to young adults, I mean, even that's of the total amount of young adults that are unemployed. It's only 1.6, so it's not going to affect the numbers that we just did by much at all. It's crazy. And that's if these people are even participating in SNAP. So the amount of unemployed, when we look at who's actually possibly on SNAP, it's only about 60%, 70% of the total unemployed. If we're looking at the numbers here, just looking at people that might not be living at home either, we can maybe consider half of this. So maybe it's about 70% or 80% of the total unemployed. So 70 or 80% of 7.4 million people that are actually on SNAP, which then you have a slight different disparity. These numbers get adjusted probably even more downwards. It's ridiculous. It's so bad to say that because of a fraction of 1% of the population, of the total population, is the reason why 1/8 of the population doesn't get food stamps is fucking stupid. And Democrats need to do a better job with math. Like, it's so bad. Oh my god. Anyways, until next time, this is Spark saying peace.